Hi, I'm TJ Dorian. This is my presentation for tort liability. Now, tort liability, by the definition of our textbook, is an actionable or civil wrong committed against one person by another that is independent of contract. If injury occurs as a result of the actions of school personnel, liability charges may be imminent. Liability may result from deliberate acts committed by another or acts involving negligence. So there's two different types here. There's intentional, which obviously is going to be something that you do on purpose. Example is going to be physically restraining or removing a student from a classroom or from the hallway, wherever the case may be. Negligence. Teachers should foresee possible risks to students and react accordingly in the interest of the student's well-being. So that means that we should know if we look outside and we're taking a PE class outside, we need to look and see, oh, it looks like it's going to storm really bad. Obviously, if a kid gets hit by lightning, that is negligence on our part because we should have known that there was a storm going on and we should have not went outside during that. So that would be an example of negligence. First case here, Flanagan versus Canton. It's a 5th grade PE class. Students were rowdy that day, and teacher pulls them off to the side, goes over the expectations, the rules, procedures, those types of things, sends everybody into the locker room to go change, stays behind with another student to continue on that conversation. While the students are unaccompanied, they get into a pushing match or whatever the case may be in the locker room. Flanagan is pushed from behind, runs into a locker, runs into a bench, results in an emergency splenectomy. Parents are going to sue based on negligence. They're going to sue the district as well as the staff member. Ruling is going to be for Flanagan. The court is going to state that yes, the school is responsible for supervision. No, they are not responsible if some unforeseen circumstance occurs. They are not responsible if you're playing basketball and you fall and break your ankle. That's an unforeseen injury. They're not going to make the school liable for those things. However, in this case, since the class was a little bit rowdier than normal, since they were already having issues that were being addressed, the staff member there should have increased his supervision over that class going into the locker rooms. Now at Harmon, admin would have a conference with the teachers, goes over the rules, policies, procedures, all that good stuff for going into the locker room, for how the gym is going to be supervised while he is in the locker room. And we have 2 other PE teachers. They kind of switch off as needed so that one's in the gym, one's in the locker room, kind of at all times. So we would make sure that that policy and that procedure is being followed. A written reprimand may go in the file since it went through the court system. It would really depend on, is this somebody that's been there for 15 years and this is the first incident they've ever came into, or is this the teacher's first year and this is, the first, 2 months of school? It's something that would kind of go based on just kind of the situation there. I don't believe it would result in suspension or termination. Again, kind of going back to if this is the first offense, most definitely not. If it's something that this is the 3rd time in 6 months that this has occurred, then it's definitely going to be an issue that's going to be brought up. In terms of prevention, reiterate, no students are to be left unsupervised. Possibly incorporating a para into that class. Some of those classes have 50, 60, 70 kids in them. So just kind of getting another pair of eyes in there would not be a bad idea. Making sure that all the PE classes are co-taught. Right now we have kind of our freshman level classes are our larger classes, and those are co-taught. But if it's a weights or a team sports, typically only one teacher is going to be teaching that class. So making sure maybe that all those classes are co-taught, even those smaller ones, just to make sure that everywhere can be supervised. And then fourth, making sure that those PE teachers have walkie-talkies. I think that's probably the easiest and probably the most beneficial. They're obviously it's PE class, physical activity. There's a lot of room for specifically physical injuries to occur just because of the nature of the class. You're running around, whether it's in the gym or out on the football field or the baseball field, wherever it may be. Those PE teachers may have an emergency medical, safety emergency, whatever the case may be, that they do need immediate access to the office staff or to our SROs, which I believe that a walkie-talkie would allow them that. As far as professional ethics go, students should not be unattended at any time. Nothing's good is going to come from that. At a bare minimum, instructional time is being lost, and then that goes all the way up to medical emergencies. A kid starts having a seizure, and there's nobody there that's taught kind of how to react to that situation, or a fight could break out or whatever. There's nothing good that can come from unsupervised students. Second case here, Frame versus Camille, and this is going to be an 8th grade science class. There's a substitute teacher. He came in. The lesson plan was to distribute a test. He does so while the students are taking a test. A group of them start talking. Obviously unacceptable. He asks them to leave, sends them down to the office or wherever. Later on in the class, another student, this is going to be Frame, he is talking again during the test, and he is asked to stop. He refuses, asked again, still refuses, and then as the substitute teacher comes over to confront him about that, kid stands up, kind of bucking up to him in a defiant manner. Camille, he grabs the kid by the arm to escort him out of the class. Ensuing kind of conflict evolves there. While the kid is being escorted out of the class, trips over a desk, kind of backs into the blackboard there, and that's going to result in assault and battery charges being filed against the substitute teacher there. Now, the courts are going to find in favor of the teacher. They're going to say that battery, yes, while it was committed, it was necessary, it was justified in order to maintain that testing environment for the rest of the class. So they are going to say that, yes, battery happened. Yes, the teacher here did physically restrain him, try to physically remove this student from the class. However, it was justified, kind of think along the lines of in loco parentis, that we are supposed to be disciplining these students while they are under our care. So just kind of that idea of removing a student from a situation where they are preventing others from learning. Now, if this happened at Harmon, admin is going to have a conference with the teacher, and we're going to review those policies for removal. First and foremost, de-escalate the situation. If you feel it boiling up, you got to be the adult. You got to de-escalate it. Then you call down to the office. You call down to an SRO. If you don't get any answer, lean over to our school's kind of designed a little bit funny. We got classrooms that go into one another. And you lean over to your neighbor, you say, hey, can you watch my class for a second? Or, you ask them, hey, if you're on plan, can you run down and grab me somebody from the office? I need some help, blah, 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 blah. To bring somebody else in that is not part of the confrontation there to help remove that kid from class. In terms of prevention, reiterate the policy for student removal. Talk about it as a whole school. Talk about it, here's what we got going on. Here's our policy. Make sure you got all our numbers. Make sure you got the emergency contacts and all that good stuff to hopefully prevent that stuff from occurring. Now, our subs, when they come into our building, they are given a sub notebook that's got the bell schedule for the day. It's got the class list for the teacher that they're subbing for. It's got emergency contact numbers for our school building and things like that. Within that, we should add in kind of our checklist of policies for discipline. How to remove a kid from class if needed, who you contact, and just kind of that type of information there. In terms of professional ethics, teachers shouldn't use force unless it's necessary to protect themselves or to protect others. It's something that kids are kids, teachers are adults. The teacher needs to be the adult. They need to de-escalate the situation, and there's no need, in my mind, to use force to do those things, especially if you're untrained to do it. That's why we have our SROs to come in. If those students are being defiant, if they are being combative, if they just flat out refuse to acknowledge a teacher, then bring somebody else in, bring admin, bring another adult in to help deal with that situation. As an admin, if you got a teacher that's sending 3, 4, 5, 10 kids down to the office, you need to go in there and check and see what's going on in that class immediately. If you're getting 2 kids down from the same class period and they're 2 separate incidents, you need to go check in with that class. You need to check in with that teacher, especially if it's a sub, to just support them and make sure that everything's going smoothly. Third case here, Brocktech versus the Millard School District. This is PE golf unit. Student missed some of the instruction and was getting it from another student. Student number 2, who was instructing the first, he goes, swings the club, takes a couple practice swings. While he's doing that, the student who had missed the instruction kind of walks up and ends up getting struck in the head and is later going to die as a result of that. Wrongful death and negligence lawsuits were filed against the teachers as well as the school district. Now, the court is going to find for Brocktech, and that is going to be the mother of the student who passed away. And they said that because the school had policies, because there were golf unit policies of how to make sure everything was safe, and those were not being followed, that constituted negligence for the teachers, or upon the teachers and upon the school district, because they were not following those policies and procedures that they themselves had established. They were negligent of those. They did not follow those, which is then going to increase the risk for the student, which is part of the definition for negligence. At Harmon, conference with the teacher, admin conference with the teacher, the PE department, they're going to review all the policies, all the procedures for safety within their units, reiterate that need for observing the whole class. Don't get focused in on one kid, especially if you got 30, 40, 50, 60 kids. You got to make sure you got eyes going all over the place. There's too much that can go wrong. In this case, a written reprimand probably would go into their file because it did go through the court system, because they were found negligent, because it was the district's policies that they were not adhering to that resulted in the incident. Now, I don't believe it would result in suspension or termination. Again, that would be kind of a history thing, whether this is first time or 10th time there. As far as prevention, kind of the same thing as some of our others. Maybe incorporating a para, reiterate need to be observant, making sure that the classes are co-taught, getting the walkies in there, and then also maybe posting the rules and the guidelines and the safety procedures for the unit throughout the gym there, to make sure that not only the students but also the teachers are adhering to those and know that those are out there. Professional ethics, student safety, first priority. And teachers, we have policies and procedures in place for a reason. They need to be followed. They do have a purpose. Next one here, Smolden versus Whitworth and Nolan. This was actually a referee that is going to be accused here of negligence, because within this rugby match, he was not following the safeguards that were established for youth games. So Smolden is going to be injured. He's going to get a broken neck in a scrum. That's a picture of a scrum up there in the upper right-hand corner. And he's going to sue Nolan for negligence. The courts are actually going to find for the for the player here, Smolden, that because the referee did not impose the rules as they should have been, that were designed for the safety of the players, that he was negligent, that he chose to not enforce those rules that could have possibly prevented this injury. Now, this is a little bit different situation. It doesn't necessarily involve a staff member. So at Harmon, our athletic director would contact Keisha, the Kansas State Association for Athletics, and talk to the head referee to make sure that these guys are being trained, that they do know the rules, that they are making sure that our kids are being safe. He could request that specific crew doesn't work any games that our school is a part of, to make sure to protect our kids. In terms of prevention, checking on the qualifications of referee, you get a list of who's going to be doing your specific games. It's all planned out beginning of the season. AD can go through, check those, make sure they all got their qualifications and all that good stuff to hopefully prevent these situations. Having paramedics on site, that would be a huge part to making sure that these injuries do not occur. I'm going to pick this up with the next part of my video.